Imagine, if you would, a suburb of Kansas, Wichita specifically. Home grounds for not a lot of activity, specifically if you're a kid, but practically the home ground for one of America's most notorious killers. Dennis Rader, known as the BTK killer, roamed these streets. I'm Sean.
And I'm Tyler, and you are listening to Walk in the Weird. On this one, I don't really feel comfortable with saying like welcome because this is a heavier one. I genuinely, and I know Sean here agrees that we want to give you not a content warning, but if you don't know anything about this, please be careful looking it up because this gets dark.
Yeah.
This is not. I don't know how many jokes we're gonna have on this one. This is not a everything works out in the end one.
We're probably gonna have a lot of jokes because we're degenerates, but it is pretty heavy. So if you don't know anything about the BTK killer, please take the time, pause right now, go look up some information just so you're aware. It gets pretty graphic. It's pretty involved in sexual deviancy, along with a lot of obviously a lot of murders. And this,
we are not exaggerating this.
We're not exaggerating it.
This, I don't even honestly. I'd rather call him Dennis than BTK because he would want to be called BTK. I don't want him to give him that satisfaction. Not
Dennis,
saying you have to, but
right.
I just don't. I don't.
He's undeserving of the credit.
He doesn't deserve the moniker.
Yeah.
He deserves nothing.
He is currently 80 years old, and he's currently incarcerated, thankfully. But he's not going to come out at any time. So again, please look into some of these cases. We're going to go into it. This is going to be part one out of a few. We're not exactly sure if it's going to go to 3, 2, or 4. We're going to get through as much as we can, and we'll go from here. Do you know anything about Dennis Rader, just from the background, just before we get started?
Actually, I've heard so many different aspects of the case, so I actually starting to get them confused with different serial killers.
Right.
Like I think I actually talked to you this off air. Was he the one when he was a kid he found a body in a tree and that's what started him on his way? Was that him?
No.
Okay.
He was more pornographic. We'll get into that. But Dennis Lynn Rader was born in Pittsburgh, Kansas on March 9th, 1945. His parents were a bookkeeper, Dorothy May Rader, and Kansas gas service worker, William Elvin Rader. Cool name, though. I like Elvin. Respect on that one. He was the eldest of 4 sons, growing up in Wichita. Rader later recalled feeling ignored by his mom. Both of his parents worked long hours and paid little to no attention to their children at home. This has been a pattern with a lot of serial killers. A lot of serial killers report having hostilities with their mom, with their dad, being basically absent during these crucial years of development, during these crucial years of change from boyhood to more teenager or more adulthood is where these people start getting astray. From a young age, Rader honored weird people. He inspired a lot of his thoughts and patterns off of other killers or other people who came before him, right? He harbored sadistic sexual fantasies about torturing, trapping, and making women helpless. He also exhibited zoo sadism by torturing, killing, and hanging of small animals. Rader would also act out these sexual fetishes and voyeurism and autoerotic asphyxiation, even cross-dressing as a kid.
I did hear about this part. I always thought it was the he found something that
Right.
kind of would have started him down the road. From what you're saying, this is one of those where, nah, he was already.
It was already.
This is not.
He blames it on pornography. Back then, during that time, a lot of pornography was very accessible regarding to like certain things. There's a lot of stories out there that you can hear, I'm sure, where a lot of people were involved into that. But anyway, he would do this, often spying on females, neighbors, and other people as they dressed. So not just the close neighbors, but outside of the neighborhood, he would walk around, he would look, do all that, right? He would also steal clothing from women around the neighborhood. He also, as a kid, into his adulthood, began masturbating with ropes and things attached to his neck and his arms.
Autoerotic asphyxiation.
Autoerotic asphyxiation and binding as well. This would later on reflect during his killing years, where a lot of times he would reenact these images of torture that he put through people, and then take pictures of himself in a mask that resembled a porcelain face with makeup and everything, almost woman-like. Years later, during his cool-off period, this is one of the things that he said helped him not kill as often, doing these rituals that he used to do as he was a kid. So this was built up for quite some time. So this has been his whole childhood, pretty much as young as he could be, right? He admitted to pretending to be his victims during this type of cool-off as it got him off. You know what I mean?
So he not only was a sadist, he was a masochist as well.
Sadomasochist. But anyway, during all this, Rader kept his productivity high and a lot of his proclivities on the down low.
He did like alarm systems.
This is towards later on in the adulthood.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
I remember that because
he did a few other jobs.
I remember specifically the alarm system thing because of how messed up it is,
right.
And I'm sure you're going to get into.
Oh
it,
yeah, no, I will.
It's bad. This story does not get better. There's no
at all.
I wish we could like, oh, he's. We've already alluded to. We already said it. He's arrested. That's great. I'm glad he is. I'm glad he's rotting in prison. Even his arrest hurt more people.
Yeah.
Like he's a genuine piece of shit.
There's a lot of things that go along with it. But after graduating from Wichita High School, Rader attended Kansas Wasteland University. Now, I may be pronouncing that wrong. I do apologize to the Wastelandians. I do apologize to that.
I think they'd be okay on this one, not being associated with this. I think they're all right.
I'm 100% sure that they're like, hey, bro, say it however you want, just not the way it is. Yeah. He received only mediocre grades, according to them, and only dropped out after 1 year. Rader then served in the Air Force, the United States Air Force, from 1966 to 1970.
That's always a thing. Isn't that interesting? That
sometimes it's a thing. Ted Bundy didn't go to the military, but yeah.
That's you. They try to do that every time, and
I feel like it's part of the whole thing that you had the old brain, so they try to satisfy the old brain with the military, but it just doesn't work.
They always get discharged, or like something always happens where they can't.
Speaking of on discharge,
sorry,
on discharge.
For anyone who doesn't look into this stuff, you're gonna see patterns with this kind of thing. It happens when it happens. Like you start reading, it's like you're reading the same book over and over and over and over.
And John Douglas, the famous FBI, behavioral scientist, he expresses that how these patterns emerge, not just with the parents, which we talked about earlier, but also with the military and all the things. Not saying the military is bad or anything like that, but they try to like satisfy that craving.
Yes,
through the military.
They hit authority, and then there's problems,
and that's the problem.
They can't handle the authority part,
so
the structure.
Now on discharge, he moved to Park City, a suburb of Wichita. So it's like more the outskirts and everything like that, where he worked in the meat department of an IGA supermarket where his mother was employed as the bookkeeper. which makes sense. You know, you ask your parents for a job, you know, it's first job, whatever, right? Rader married Paula Dietz on May 22nd.
Isn't it Dietz?
Whatever, Dietz, who cares? Anyway, on May 22nd, 1971, they had 2 children, Carrie and Brian. He attended, He attended Butler Community College during this time in El Dorado, earning an associate's degree in electronic engineering. And in 1973, he then enrolled into Wichita State University and graduated in 1979. He graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree and majoring in administrative justice, ironically enough. And Rader initially worked as an assembler for the Coleman Company, an outdoor supply company.
Isn't that a pattern too with the criminal justice stuff?
Right.
Isn't that like
A lot of them try to figure out what their enemy or what their main op, as the urban youth say to this day, would be figuring out. So you hear Dennis Rader, Ted Bundy,
what's his
Edmund
name?
Kemper used to hang out with a bunch of cops and go
they
to the
liked
diners,
him.
and they liked him.
liked him.
Well,
That's the thing.
Actually, with Edmund Kemper, all his guards still like him.
Yeah,
he says it's very enjoyable. Mm-hmm. It's weird the way these guys' profiles look and the way they grasp you or manipulate you. But anyway, so he worked for the supply company, outdoor supply company. So he would just go around and do salesman, and that's how he started picking his victims. I guess
scoping out
He then worked for a local Wichita office of ADT Security Services, which is what you're talking about earlier, from 1974 to 1988, where he installed security alarms. This ironically became one of his calling cards, where he would install the security programs for a lot of his victims. So he knew how to disable it. He knew how to do all that.
He installed the alarm that was only set up so that he wouldn't hurt them.
Yeah,
And
he was also a field operations supervisor at the Wichita area for the 1990 federal census. So he was on the field constantly looking around for people, and he used this time to target people directly.
And I don't know if you're going to add this in, but he also normal family, church going. Like,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have any idea.
And right now, a lot of this first episode, we're going to go through a lot of the background. We're not really going to go into the depth of the killings. That's going to be in the next episode. That's going to be a lot more in depth. But right now, it's just kind of the timeline, kind of where things going, how he developed as a person.
I just wanted to add that because he is not a unique case, but it's different because he had an entire life.
Separate.
So when you see stories in movies or like TV shows and stuff where they have like the secret life, it's usually based on him.
And a few others. I mean, Ted Bundy had a different life, but it's usually him.
Usually him because, well, when they have the family and the kid, it's literally BTK.
Right. In May 1991, Rader became a dog catcher and a compliance officer in Park City. In this position, neighbors recalled him as being sometimes a little overzealous and extremely strict, as well as taking special pleasure in bullying and harassing single women. 2 women he stalked in the 1980s, and one whom he stalked in the mid-1990s, filed restraining orders against him during the time that he was both a church deacon and he was doing a dog catcher. One of these women also changed her address to avoid him, like completely moved. One neighbor,
Smart.
Right?
She didn't know how smart she was.
Right, seriously.
Yeah.
I'm sure she figured out later. One neighbor complained that Rader killed her dog for no reason, according to her. Rader was a member of the Christ Lutheran Church in Wichita, as well, as I mentioned, and at one point was elected president of the church council. He was also a Cub Scout leader. During the time that he's a Cub Scout leader, I do want to mention that he snuck away from his troop to go murder a woman nearby and then came back.
And
we'll get into that.
We're going to get there too, but him being part of a church is actually relevant. It's nothing to do with any church, like religious things. You'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad.
In the early 2000s, his reign actually took about 30 years. So in the early 2000s, the public's memory of his murders and of his life and who he was was beginning to fade. Local author at the time, Robert Beatty, began writing a book about the killings, Nightmare in Wichita. A lot of the documentaries that shows him talking and showing what he did in order to help with the BTK killing and the Wichita case. After being shocked that many young people he spoke to had never heard of the BTK case and hungry for attention, Dennis Rader reemerged as BTK in 2004. After learning that the book was being written on July 26, 2005, after Rader's arrest, his wife was granted an emergency divorce, waiving the normal 60-day waiting period.
That's understandable.
Right. So, in an interview with ABC News in 2019, his daughter Carrie stated she writes to her father and has now forgiven him for all the crap that he did, but still struggles to reconcile her normal childhood with the knowledge that she was raised by BTK killer. However, at the 2004 CrimeCon in Nashville, Tennessee, Carrie revealed excerpts from her father's journal that revealed he had sexually abused her when she was a child. Now,
she just doesn't remember? Or?
Not that she doesn't remember, is that so much to that point wasn't really explained. And the mind is a very curious thing. Sometimes it breaks up shit. Sometimes it doesn't break up shit. Sometimes it covers shit up.
Or she did like the out of body
experience, or out of all that stuff experience.
Where like it's happening to somebody else, not you.
Right. And then she ended up being crucial to this case in order to being solved. Now, real quick, what I wanted to do while we were here is I wanted to go over the Otero family murder if you wanted to. I don't know how you feel about that. If you wanted to do something like that, we could. Did you want to go over the first murder? It's pretty lengthy, but...
Yeah.
Or do you think we have time?
Honestly, I think we should wait for the next episode and kind of go through what he did.
Piece by piece?
Yes.
Rather than just doing it right away?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think we should maybe in this episode we'll talk in general more so like with just what I know you like serial killers. I know you like this kind of stuff. What you like researching them. You don't like them.
So he's currently BTK is currently number 3 on my all-time favorite true crime
I wasn't
cases.
gonna ask that, but since
True
we're there.
crime cases, he's number 3. These cases are my number 3 favorite, not because of what he did, not because of how he did it, but because of the fact that he was able to elude police for so long while continuing to live this double life. Now, for those people who know, and for people who don't know, I started seeing a therapist when I was a kid, or when I was a younger adult, and I was told that I have antisocial personality disorder, which is a lot of things that these serial killers have. Now, the only difference is that I grew up in a better environment. I was raised a lot better and got smacked around when I didn't do what I needed to do. So for me, none of that developed. Like, you do have some complications of attachment, complications of emotion, trying to understand things.
And don't worry, it wasn't too much. It wasn't Kemper level. So So he's fine. He's fine. He's fine. Trust me. I check his trunk. He's fine.
Right. He's fine. I'm totally fine. These guys are extreme cases that have gone completely off the south end, off the deep end. Like, they're way, way worse. There's so much more in there. So for me, I like studying where this part of the brain, or how this brain that's damaged works. It's not just a cautionary tale for myself, but as a result of how fragile the human mind could be. So that's why I like studying it.
It's like a storm. I know. I'm sure if you've looked into this stuff, you've heard this stuff before, where they call it the perfect storm of nature and nurture.
Nature and nurture, yeah. And
So
they
where
could
if
not be
you're the person
more.
that didn't have the inclination of this.
That's my bad.
If you don't have the inclination of doing any of this, you're just gonna be an abused kid.
Yeah.
But if you do have the inclination, the problem becomes you become a monster.
Now, see, that's the problem that I have with a lot of people. A lot of the people who diagnose people and do that and automatically have the stigma of people who have this disease. Well, there's a lot of CEOs. There's a lot of race car drivers. There's a lot of people in this world who exist and function fully and are productive members of society who have this issue too. They do the normal thing. They go through therapy. They, practice interactions. They try to sympathize with people. Sometimes they can't, but they do their very best to try to associate and assimilate with life, despite their overcomplications, despite their whatever. Dennis Rader is not a person that did that. He did that just to mask what he was doing, and to hide what he did.
That's the thing that really bothers me with his story. Not just what he did. That of course that's you'll see.
Now,
sadly, but he made a whole life for himself with with kids and a wife. You only did it as a mask. That's so the level of messed up that is. I'm just like
his killing spree, before we end this, starts off with a family, the Otero family. Unfortunately, this case is nothing to be lied about. There's a lot of things, and a poor little boy who lives with guilt to this day. But for now, we'll end it here. That is the very beginning of the BTK Part 1 series of Walking the Weird about Dennis Rader.
I've been Tyler.
And I'm Sean.
And we'll see you next time to keep going over this.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.